So my background's actually real estate. So it's kind of funny that I ended up here as a business coach. The worst time to hire is when you are absolutely maxed out. You're working, 80 hours a week, can't come up for air. And that's when most people hire. And it's going to be a disaster. But if you ignore your money and treat it like crap, you're not going to make a lot more of it. You're not going to grow a huge business dismissing your financial information. I work half days on Fridays. Sometimes I don't work at all on Fridays. Burnout is optional, right? We've kind of put burning out on this pedestal like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I burnt out.
Yes,
again.
Badge, yeah.
Why?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Business Game.
A podcast that moves the needle.
You know what? I think there's a pain point that all businesses have that quietly eats away at their time. Do you know what it is?
No.
Scheduling.
Oh, absolutely. Staff rosters, equipment, logistics, compliance. It never ends.
No, totally. That's what I love about what TraffTrack is doing. They make complex scheduling simple with smart, intuitive software, all handled remotely, right? In real time on both the desktop and the app, right? The app as well. So everyone stays in sync.
And their team gets it. They've worked in industries like construction, logistics, and events.
Yep.
So they know the pain firsthand.
Yeah. Now, it's just smooth, smart, and stress-free. Who doesn't want that? So check them out at trafftrack.com. And thank you, TraffTrack, for supporting The Business Game.
Hello, and welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. I'm Kalena Stano.
And I'm Steve Plummer.
Before we get started today, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. Today, we're joined by Kirsten Graham, co-founder of Six Figure Business Coaching. Kirsten, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm very excited about this conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. We're very excited to get into it with you too. So to kick things off, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so my background's actually real estate. So it's kind of funny that I ended up here as a business coach. That happened really by accident. I mentored other business owners for about a decade before I turned that into a business. And I really specialize in outsourcing, understanding that small business owners, their most valuable asset is their time. And we often can't do it all.
Yes. And so does that tie into the VA work and did that just sort of happen organically for you?
It did happen organically, realizing that people, again, didn't have enough time, and a lot of smaller businesses, especially startups, couldn't really afford to hire locally. So I started helping, actually my current business partner now, Jeannie, I started helping her outsource for her agency almost 17 years ago. And then I went on to help lots of other clients, lawyers, CPAs, bookkeepers, real estate agents, lots of different clients in different industries to outsource. And then we thought, well, we could probably do this a little bit at scale, but we really niched down to very specific ways that we help our clients.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. So let's go back to the beginning. What was it that first drew you into business coaching and entrepreneurship? You said you were in real estate. So what was that flow like and how did that happen?
Yeah, I always joke that I've always been self-employed because I don't play well with others. Yeah. My dad used to joke when I was little that I would do really well in the military if they'd let me start off as a general.
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah, and so I started selling real estate. That was the first part of my career. I moved over to the mortgage side of the industry. I went on to own a mortgage company and a title company, and I've owned gyms and lots of other types of businesses. And like I said, I really fell into business coaching accidentally. I was very involved with local networking. I did a lot of loans for self-employed people. So it's either business tax returns, their business and personal tax returns. And then they would say, can I take you to lunch and pick your brain? So I mentored, like I said, for well over a decade before I decided to start taking on paid clients just to kind of test the waters. And it really just took off, which has been really amazing because I was really, real estate kind of ties you into a local area. And I was ready to start moving and start traveling. So it worked out well when I left that industry and have the freedom to live wherever I want.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
what do you really like about the industry?
I love seeing our clients have those aha moments. And because I've had businesses in the States where I've always had staff and employees, I really didn't understand the gap of what it was like to be completely a solopreneur, because again, I've always had that staff. And so what blew me away when we first started really helping our clients at scale outsource was how many people said things like, I feel like a real business owner now. Or I've had no idea how isolated and lonely I felt in my business. By having, a marketing and virtual assistant, I feel so much more creative, and we talk about ideas. And, I used to beat myself up so much because I couldn't get everything done. And now that I have this support person, I'm realizing that I had really unrealistic expectations for myself. So I think that's what I love seeing most. I love seeing businesses, especially women, to start to understand that they deserve to have support in their business, and that growing a business with a team, whether it's one person or 10 people or 100 people, is often a lot more gratifying than trying to do it all on your own and living very isolated in that space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You've got this, there's a quote on your website about they're not smarter. They treat their business like a business. Can you unpack that a little bit? Why don't we all treat our business like a business?
Well, Steve, I think we're all good people. Like, we start our businesses because we're passionate about something and we have a way, we want to help people and we want to have an impact. But, we always joke about, the business owner wears all the hats. Well, let's be honest. When you start a business, you have no idea what hats they are.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so
There's
true.
hats coming at you left and right. You have no idea.
You don't know when to wear them. Yeah.
Take that one off, put that one on, Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a new
And
one.
also
Okay.
hats show up at, this is a compliance hat. I know anything about that. So there's just hats coming at you. And so we have the best of intention. And then what happens is I think you get really busy because you're trying to bring in clients so you have money, but you're also trying to figure out all these other roles you need to play in your business. And so I think sometimes it's just, we didn't realize we started a job for ourselves. We didn't really realize that, you think about this business and freedom. Freedom's one of my core values. So I really love helping people, gain more freedom, time freedom, money freedom. But you don't realize how much time goes into running a business. After all the client work is done, then you've got the marketing to do and you've got the bookkeeping to do and all the things. So I just don't think people realize when they first get started. And then I also feel like a lot of small businesses get taken advantage of. They spend thousands of dollars on websites and they just spend a lot of money initially because they're so excited, but they spend it without having any sort of strategy or plan around it. And so I think then it makes it harder to hire down the road. I think it's a lot of things. I love that saying, entrepreneurs are the only people that will quit a 40-hour-a-week job to work 80 hours a week for themselves.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It should be true, but it is.
Yeah.
And so what do you think it that keeps people stuck in that?
Yeah. So hiring is something, again, all those hats. So when you started your business, you didn't necessarily know that you needed to write job descriptions. You didn't know what soft skills and hard skills. I've never interviewed anyone. How do I do that? SOPs, standard operating procedures. We joke that they're not sexy, but they're the backbone of a really solid business. How do you create those? You hear about them all the time, but what are they? So I think there's just a lot of missing pieces. And so by having, for us, when we figured that out, when we figured we don't want to be a marketing agency, we don't want to be an outsourcing agency, we truly want to help our clients with strategy and plans. And then we want to train virtual assistants for them and provide SOPs because we really do believe you lead people, you manage tasks. And that's something, again, it's just a hat we've never had to wear. Sometimes we didn't even know it existed. So we don't know where to start.
Yeah. I'm curious, what was the first time that you made money from something that you created and sold?
Oh, probably really early on. I was a top salesperson for my Girl Scout troop.
Oh, there you go.
All the cookies.
Fun.
All the cookies.
I didn't really make money, but it kind of covered our troops' expenses for trips and stuff.
Hey, there you go.
I think I started making jewelry and hustling early on. I babysat a lot. So, I was always very entrepreneurial. So that came on really early on.
Oh, that's great. When you are starting with a coaching session with one of your clients, what's some of the first core things that you're looking at to try and help them adjust their expectations, or how's a better way to say this would be to loosen up the control, creating that awareness of the importance of good delegation so that they can build a strong team? How do you approach that?
There's really two different types of people. So you have your type A people who want to control everything. And their thought is, if I could do it myself, why would I not do it? And if I have to spend so much time teaching someone else, I'll just do it myself. Type A.
It's cheaper, faster,
the
easier to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that we've got that loop going. I'll just do it
Yes.
myself. It's cheaper, faster,
I've
easier.
been there. That's why I'm interested
I'll
to
do
know.
it better than they can, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Yeah. There's a loop going around in not us, but other
Yeah.
people's minds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's in a lot of people's
it is.
minds.
It's in mine.
Absolutely.
I'm very much that way inclined.
Ditto.
Yeah. And then the flip side of that is when someone, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, when someone says, I just want to hire someone that will tell me what to do. I'm like, well, why don't you just get a job? Get a job. You don't need a VA. You need a job. So they're opposite ends of the spectrum. And so those are very different conversations, obviously. And, I find that people, if you understand that it will take a little bit longer, more of your time initially to get someone up and running. You're investing time and energy into them, but eventually they're doing things that free you up to do other things. And part of it is, I think you have to have a really strong desire to serve your clients. You need to know exactly what your unique abilities are. Why did you start your business? What are you amazing at? What do you love doing? How are you going to impact and help the most people? And then understanding that everything else and anything that doesn't fall in that bucket, the goal is to eventually delegate it.
Yeah. Well, that's good advice. Yeah. Because, I know, like I said, struggling with that control element, especially when you're building a business that you're passionate about, like you said in the beginning. Most entrepreneurs are creating something that they really believe in and they know is going to help people.
It's from the heart.
It's from the heart.
Yeah.
But as a business and as a leader, again, it's learning how to be a leader. It's learning how to delegate. It's learning how to manage. And, I hate to say this, but really it's just about coaching. If you think about it, if you have a child and you never let them learn to crawl because they might fall over, or you never let them walk because they'll fall down, and it's the same with building your team. Sometimes they're going to have missteps and sometimes they're going to do things differently than you want. It's just a matter of using that as a teachable moment and coaching them on what you want done and how you want it done and why you want it done that way. And I think if you're consistent, most of the time, the virtual assistants that we hire, they're eager to please. They want to make you happy. They love the fact, with our clients, they're going to have long-term employment. We've got clients going on 6-7 years with their VAs.
Oh, wow.
So it's it's about building a true relationship with someone on your team, even though they're halfway around the world, and developing them, helping them develop their skills so they're evolving along with you in your business.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Can we talk about timing and when's the right time to bring a virtual assistant in? Now, as a co-founder, how did you decide for you when the right time was to bring a VA in and start delegating the tasks? And then I think by extension, how do you teach that or how do you coach people through that moment?
Sure. Yeah, we hired really early on because, again, we didn't want to create a job for ourselves. We knew we wanted to create a business, and those are two very different things. I'm not tech savvy. My business partner is very tech savvy. We have very different roles within the company, but we also keep each other accountable. Why are you doing that? You should delegate that, So we're very good about making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do in our business and delegating the rest. So we have clients, it's really interesting, Steve. We have clients that are in their 70s who are starting businesses, which is really cool in my opinion. But they start businesses with a VA because they don't want to learn the technology. They don't want to learn how to edit videos or audio editing for a podcast or whatever they're creating. So a lot of times you'll start to see people, especially later in life, even in their 60s, if they're starting a business, they will often start that business with support because they go into it realizing, I don't want to learn all these things that I don't want to learn. So sometimes I think the mindset is starting to shift and people are starting to understand how affordable it is. The worst time to hire is when you are absolutely maxed out. You're working, 80 hours a week, can't come up for air. And that's when most people hire. And it's going to be a disaster because you don't have the bandwidth or the space. So always step back and try to hire before you need the person. And also don't try to hire the magic unicorn. You're not going to hire somebody who's going to take care of your bookkeeping and your video editing and your social media and your email marketing and your email management. Like, that's not the way the world works. Hire part-time people for very specific roles. And here's the cool thing. Here's the best part we don't think about. When I don't really enjoy bookkeeping. I can do it. I hate it, but I don't want to do it.
That's fair.
When you're hiring, I know, right? Anybody love bookkeeping? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
No hands go up.
No one. Yeah.
Exactly. But when you hire someone who has a degree in accounting or finance and they're certified in QuickBooks or Xero and they've been doing bookkeeping for 10 years, they love it. Like that is their jam. And so when you realize that when you're outsourcing specific roles, you're outsourcing that to the people who are working in their unique ability. It's what they love doing. It's what they're passionate about doing. And when you can start to really see that side of it, it changes everything.
It's so true. It's such a mindset shift for that type A personality that we're sort of leaning into. And I know for myself, when I started my startup, I thought I had to do it all and I had to learn all these things. And then you sort of get taken advantage of and you're sort of not really sure what you're doing. And so it's shifting that mindset of going, no, this person is passionate about this thing that I really don't want to do and don't want to learn. Right. So handing it over to them and guiding them towards the mission is my job. And that's the best thing forward. Yeah. So with that, when you're doing your coaching, what mindset shifts or tools are you giving your the people that you're working with, your clients, to help guide them that way?
Sure. So the example I like to use is editing a video. I do not need to know how to edit a video to tell you that I don't like really jerky, fast transitions. I like smooth transitions. I don't have to know how to edit a video to be able to communicate to you that 80% of our clients are women, 20% are men. None of them are going to be walking down Wall Street in suits. So that's not good B-roll for us. So I don't need to know how to do it to be able to critique and tell them what I like, what I dislike, and what I want. And so that's the other thing, is being able to understand that you can coach someone on something that maybe you don't know how to do the technical skill, and that's okay. Because most entrepreneurs, they know what they want. In their mind's eye, they know what they want. And so it's just a matter of learning how to communicate and coach. And we use the word coach a lot, coaching your virtual assistant on the things that you want, how you want things done. As far as how we work with our clients, again, we really provide standard operating procedures, hire and train the virtual assistants. We really do everything for them. But it's interesting because it's a lot easier for me to get the VA on board and following the rules than it is to get the client. The VAs will use the SOPs consistently, but if the client doesn't spend time looking at it and reviewing it with them, eventually they will fall by the wayside. And then that's when things can fall apart. So managing tasks with structure like SOPs is probably the biggest thing we bang on a lot with our clients.
Yeah. And can you talk us through, Kirsten, the process for matching VAs with businesses? And, so this particular VA is going to match that one, but that one won't. So what does that whole process look like?
Sure. Yes. So with marketing virtual assistants, we're hiring people for video editing, audio editing, graphic design, social media. So we're hiring people that are creative and love being in the creative space. They then come to us and they go through a paid internship with us. And at that point, we're making sure they are creative. We're making sure they follow instructions, they meet deadlines, and they have great communication skills. At that point, they've learned all of our SOPs and they're capable of doing the job. When I place a client with a virtual assistant, I am having a conversation with the team about who may be the best fit. But at the end of the day, I will know within 2 weeks if it's not a good fit. Because if it's not a good fit, it's just a personality thing. And then we jump in and switch them out, right? So again, it's really about the fact that the VA is skilled on the task, and then the client and the VA are taught cultural differences for communication, and everything is very structured. So with our clients, we will change out their VA if it's not a good personality fit. We don't really run across that problem a whole lot. And then same thing with bookkeeping virtual assistants. If I'm placing someone with a bookkeeping VA, there are things. If they're a nonprofit, I have certain VAs that take care of nonprofits. If they're in Canada, I have certain VAs that take care of Canadian clients. So it really is, there's certain things that I will find out, which will help me determine who's going to do the role. But because we lean so much into educating both the client and the virtual assistant, cultural difference, communication, and structure, we very seldom have a problem with the matches.
Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? I guess from the client's point of view, the education process, what does that look like?
Yeah, so they go through a training portal with us when they buy one of our programs. They go through a training portal. We have modules. And, we do talk about just I don't know if you guys feel like it, but Filipino people and a lot of other countries feel like Americans communicate very aggressively.
Yes,
I don't know if you guys.
I'm American, and I get this with my husdend all the time. I'm very abrupt and abrasive, but
no comment.
I disagree, but
well,
you'll
wrong.
know about it.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something, we've outsourced to like 6 different countries. It was something I didn't realize early on, but it is true. Our communication style is aggressive compared to a lot of other countries. It doesn't mean we're being aggressive. It doesn't mean our intent is harsh. It's just our communication style is more direct and very straightforward. And so just learning cultural differences. So we teach, again, a lot about that. But again, if we're helping our clients, with their marketing, virtual assistants, we're helping them figure out their strategy around their podcast or their YouTube channel, those types of things. It's a lot of conversations around marketing. And then once we move into the actual pairing, they have a really dialed in structure to help them, manage all those tasks and to lead that person. One of the things we do, whether it's marketing virtual assistants, software virtual assistants, or bookkeeping virtual assistants, is we have live office hours every week because we want to be able to support the client with any questions that they have. So I think that's the other thing that we do that's a little bit different is we provide ongoing support for our clients.
Well, that's great. And you find that there's a lot of people leaning into that support that you offer, that ongoing support? Yeah, it's interesting. Early on, we found that, for example, with our marketing program, real estate agents come in, they get their stuff done, they're paired with their VA. We may see them once or twice ever in a group call. Yeah.
That's just how they roll. Coaches or people that have started businesses that are newer, we'll see them every week, sometimes for months. So it just depends on the person and how much, I don't want to use the word hands holding, but how much they need the community and to be able to ask questions ongoing. The bookkeeping virtual assistants, we do that just once a month, but we do have people popping in. I'm not an accountant, so I can't give tax advice, but I can give them questions to ask their CPA, or if their CPA has asked them things that they're not sure what they're asking, I can try to help them strategize with their bookkeeper on what information to provide to their accountant to figure out that issue or resolve that problem. Yeah, and then with our software VAs, it's all about learning how to use the software to all the things that it can do. So we do have a lot of people that come to those calls.
Oh, that's great. Hey guys, quick pause to talk about Opus Clip, one of my favorite tools for creating content without the stress. If you've ever spent hours editing videos wishing there was an easier way, Opus Clip is your solution.
Their AI engine takes your raw clips and turns them into share-ready videos in under a minute. No editing skills required, no headaches, no endless hours at your computer.
Seriously, it's like having a professional editor in your pocket. You can create more content, experiment with formats, and share it instantly, all while saving a ton of time.
And if you want to get started with a great sign-up bonus while supporting the show, just use the link in the description.
All right, back to today's episode. We're about to drop more insights you won't want to miss.
Kirsten, I'm a prospective client of yours. I'm on the fence though about whether I should hire a VA or not. So what are the benefits going to be for me if I hire through you or through someone else?
Well, Steve, let's just say you're great at what you do, but you're terrible at keeping your receipts and your bookkeeping, okay? You're terrible at
How
that.
do you know? Did you tell?
We spoke prior.
I'm not fair.
Yeah, so the conversation that I would have with you would not be about whether you should hire or not hire. It would be about the freedom. Are you looking to run your business like a real business? How much freedom would you have going into tax season with everything in order? Would you be able to make better decisions with your business if you knew exactly what your numbers were moment to moment?
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really about figuring out, do you want the result? Do you want the transformation? Because it's really not about the virtual assistant. It's not really about our program. It's about, are you at a place in your business where you're sick and tired of having receipts everywhere, worried about getting audited, stressing to get your tax stuff together? I love mindset and I love manifesting money concepts and all of that. But if you ignore your money and treat it like crap, you're not gonna make a lot more of it. You're not gonna grow a huge business dismissing your financial information. So that would be my conversation with you. It'd be less about the VA and more about what result do you truly want.
That's awesome. Are you convinced? That was pretty convincing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'll call you next week with my shoebox of receipts.
Yes,
You'll never have a shoebox again. You keep your
sold.
shoes in your shoebox, not your receipts.
Yeah.
So this is all leaning in towards creating sustainable growth for entrepreneurs. What was a pivotal point in your career that really shaped your approach to that sustainable growth?
Yeah, like I said, when I sold real estate early on in my career, we had a broker and we had some office support there, even though it was just an agent, licensed with a broker. I think early on, you realize that you just can't do it all if you want to do volume and if you want to have a life at the same time. And like I said, for me, one of my core values is freedom. And I work half days on Fridays. Sometimes I don't work at all on Fridays. So having a different lifestyle and looking at what I want that lifestyle to be. And that's the real passion that I have for other entrepreneurs, is helping them understand that you can have a thriving business and have time for your space. Sometimes I like to say, people don't always like this, but burnout is optional, right? We've kind of put burning out on this pedestal, like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I burnt out. Like,
Yes,
again,
badge. Yeah.
why? In this day and age, when you can outsource halfway around the world for $5-6 an hour, why would you ever spend all your time burning out? Or your marriage goes to the south, or you're always guilty because you're not with your kids, or you're not traveling, you're not doing what you love doing. And that's not why you started your business.
Yeah. Just interested, your half day or your Friday off, do you have trouble switching off? Because that's one of the things entrepreneurs, they're always on, right? And got ideas aplenty. And how do you manage that to make it a meaningful, worthwhile you time where you're not just thinking about work and business?
Sure. Probably 20, maybe 25 years ago now, I joined Dan Sullivan's strategic coaching program. And I was with Dan for 3 years. And that was one of the things that we learned was the entrepreneurial time system. And it was that no matter what, you need to have a 24-hour block of time while you're completely off. Because again, we need to recharge our batteries. You're going to come back refreshed, better ideas. So I'd like to say, on Fridays, usually I plan things. I've got a friend, we'll go to the pool and hang out. We'll go to the beach. This Friday, we're going putt-putting, just whatever it is we want to do. Yeah. So making a plan to do something. And it doesn't mean I absolutely won't work, because sometimes, in doing something relaxing, especially with, seems like all my friends own businesses. So having conversations with friends who also own businesses, sometimes they'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. And I'll pull out my phone and I'll open up notes and I'll type or dictate a memo. Hey, look into this next week. This was a great idea. So if great ideas come to me, I'm going to do that, but I'm not necessarily going to do tasks, if that makes sense. Because again, I try really hard to time block and make sure by the time I want to knock off on Friday, things are done.
Yes. Yeah. I kind of want to circle back to the burnout. You said that you don't believe we need to burn out, which I really want to, I experienced burnout, but after speaking with you just in this short time, I already go, I probably didn't need to burn out. I could have just outsourced. Have you ever experienced burnout yourself? And that's where you went, I actually didn't need to feel this. And that's where some things ticked over for you, or?
So again, I've been self-employed my whole life, and I was in the real estate industry in 2008. So that was major burnout.
That would be
interesting.
That was more
around, that wasn't lack of team or lack of support. That was just, the world melting down and being in the financial space. No, I feel like I've always had a pretty good handle on balance, because I'm the type of person that if I push too hard, I end up getting sick. So I can tell when I've gone too much, I start to get a sore throat.
Okay.
And it's like, that's my cue to just shift down, downshift a couple of degrees for the next couple of days and then kick it back up. So just learning, I think, to listen to your body is really important. Learning to have meditation practices, self-care practices. I think those things are all very important. I started using EFT 25 years ago.
Oh, cool.
So I think that those things have helped. But I do think that, again, you didn't really know how to wear that outsourcing hat, So all you're doing is you're kind of like gerbil on that wheel going. And when you're that busy, you don't even have time to stop and think about, is there a better way? Is there another way? How could I do this? But I am so excited because I feel like outsourcing is becoming, way more a part of a conversation than it was even 3 years ago. So I'm really excited to see more and more business owners are embracing the fact that they can hire virtual assistants and they can outsource different tasks. So I do hope that it helps people avoid burnout.
And what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received for building a business that lasts?
It would probably go back to Dan Sullivan's strategic coach, having systems and processes, scheduling your days. You can tell a fun story. The person who went to Dan Sullivan's program with me, because we had to go to Philadelphia every quarter, and she was a lawyer, so she's a very detailed fact-finding type of person. And the thing that they were trying to get us to do was to have free days, focus days, and buffer days. And so on your free day was obviously, you were doing whatever you wanted. But your focus days were all about making money. And with her law practice, her office was used to scheduling intake calls with her whenever they wanted to. And the goal was to get them to the point where they were just doing them 2 days a week, which gave her time to do other things, to run the business. And I won't forget, because she kept struggling with it. And she was having a conversation like as a group. And our coach just said, Michelle, go out to the hallway, call your team, because they would say to her, well, they couldn't come on another day. They couldn't come that day. We'll lose them. That's what her staff would tell her. He said, go and call them, tell them to move everyone. I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, move everyone to Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyone who can't do that, give them Joe's information and let Joe know we referred them. And from here on out, they can go on Tuesdays or Thursdays, or we need to refer them to Joe. Miraculously, everyone moved. And moving forward, there was not that issue again. So that was a good lesson in when it comes to delegation, we need to make our decisions. We need to be clear about what we want from our team, and we need to hold fast. So that was a really good lesson. But again, the entrepreneurial time system, those were all just amazing things that I feel like I was lucky to learn early on.
Let's go the other way. What about mistakes? What would you consider, because mistakes are where we often learn the most, but what would you consider the biggest mistake you've seen a business owner make when they try and grow or scale too fast?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can speak for myself. In 2008, I'm an optimistic person, so I kept thinking things would turn around. Looking back, I should have laid off half my staff, but they're people and you care about them. So looking back, I can account for a lot of big mistakes that I made. Also, I do think that growing for the sake of growth is idiotic, in my opinion. So I think that's the other thing, is sometimes we want to grow just for the sake of growing. But, I've seen businesses, they're $1 million in revenue and the business owner can barely take home $50,000 a year. And I've seen other businesses that, they're $250,000 a year and the business owner is bringing home $180,000, right? So it's really about understanding what are your priorities for your personal income, what do you want your profit margin to look like? And then asking yourself, solid questions about, am I growing for my ego? Am I growing because someone else told me I should, or someone else is doing it? Or do I really feel like this is the right next step for me? And is this the right time for me to take that right next step?
Kirsten, can you share a favorite client success story with us? And I guess what I'm thinking is in what state did they come to you? What was the messy middle like, and where they're at now?
Yes. So we just had a client who has 3 years of backlog bookkeeping done and will be able to file taxes for the past 2 years and this year. So that is really exciting to see someone, because again, there's a lot of embarrassment and a lot of shame around money. We talk about, most of us don't have degrees in accounting. So even though we were never trained to do bookkeeping, we feel like we should know how to wear that hat and wear it well. So along with that does come with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of frustration, and a lot of embarrassment. So to see her go from literally, head down, just totally defeated, to being like, yes, like we've got these past 2 years are done. 2025 is almost caught up. I'm never getting behind again, is what she said. That to me is huge, right? And she hasn't even really hit the most empowering part. Like, yeah, she's caught up, but how having her monthly meetings with her bookkeeper moving forward and learning more about her profit and loss statement, learning more about her balance sheet, learning more about managing her cash flow is really going to change a lot of other things for her that she doesn't even she's not even aware of yet. So that I'm excited to have another conversation in a year or so with her. So that's one. So with marketing virtual assistants, we have a lot of clients who want to start a podcast, but they have no idea where to start. So it is really exciting to see clients get those first couple of episodes up and running, to be excited about it. It's always exciting to us when we're first sent the videos or the podcast episodes and you get to watch them and have conversations with them in the group calls and they're just glowing. So I love that. But I think it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier is just so many clients, so many have just that whole thing about, I feel like a real business owner now. I feel confident about my business now. I see that my business can be bigger than I ever imagined now. And again, we generally like relationships. We like collaboration. So like having a team where you feel supported and you have people to bounce ideas off of, people to delegate quick tasks to. I had a client that had an opportunity. She was at a chamber meeting. And the guy said, we have some extra ad space tomorrow. She was in real estate. We have some extra ad space tomorrow if you want to run an ad, but I have to have everything done by 8 a.m. And she said it like an evening networking event. She got back. She put some things together. She sent it to her VA. She said, give me 5 drafts tomorrow. She woke up first thing in the morning. They were all there. She loved one of them. She sent it on. The guy said, I have made that offer to so many people to have this really inexpensive ad, and no one has ever taken me up on it.
Wow.
What?
And
wow.
Well, because again, going home after an evening and then figured out how to put an ad together, lay out and design it and all that. So, so again, there's so many little stories like that I just love.
Oh, that's great. That just shows, the high value that's there. What if, this is just a hypothetical, what if someone or just like an entrepreneur was creating something that people don't know they need, which I know sounds silly, but let's take Airbnb as an example. No one really knew that was something that we needed. And now it's changed the entire landscape of travel. And in that situation, and you're having these conversations, imagine Airbnb trying to have conversations with the 50 to 100 people and trying to, one, explain the concept, but then also understand if it's a need or not.
Right.
What's that like? How does that work in that situation?
Right. So if I understand the story correctly, they didn't start out to start a business. They needed money and they just happened to be a large event in their area.
Yes.
And so they rented their
Timing.
space, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So they did have actual market research because they actually threw it out there and it worked, right? They threw it out there and they're like, whoa. And if I lived in an area that had a big event and I realized one time I could rip my entire house out and make, $10,000 in a weekend, I would do that every time that event was in town, right? It would make sense.
Yeah.
So they actually were kind of boots on the ground. I think, again, it's one of those kind of like once in a lifetime kind of things, but they did actually test it. And I don't think they did it with the intention of starting a business. Doing it led them to, hey, could we make this work? And then I don't know how much market research they did from that first, holy crap, this is kind of cool, to let's turn this into a business. So I don't know. I know they took on a lot of venture capital. So I'm sure they had some big money behind them doing market research and figuring out how to truly make it work.
Yes. But it's still, like you said, they're still got that validation, but it was just in reverse, not having conversations, but throwing something at the wall and it stuck.
Okay. Yes. And I think a lot of businesses do start that way.
Yes.
But think about all the businesses. There's probably more businesses that have tried to start something with the intention of thinking it would be the thing and it never took off. So there's probably thousands of failures compared to one success. But again, I always when it comes to market research, I always go back, to McDonald's. You guys have McDonald's in Australia,
yes.
I'm assuming. So, 2 whole beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, right? We know what they sell. But they're always running ads. They're always promoting it. And before they roll anything out, before they're going to roll out a McRib or something like that, they are going to market test the heck out of it. They're going to roll it out to one area. They're going to track the results. Then they might roll it out, stateside. Then they might roll it out, to different countries. So when you look at bigger businesses, they would rather spend a ton of money up front on market research than to lose 100 times more money by flopping.
Yes.
And as small business owners, we don't think that way. We think that, I know what my clients want. I know exactly what they need. But again, spending that time doing the market research will help you really define how they describe their problems. What solutions are they really looking for? Because it may be different than what you had in mind. And generally, it'll help you create and roll out something that is going to have a higher level of success right off the bat. Plus, people don't realize when you're doing market research, you're actually filling your pipeline with people who will buy from you when you do roll it out.
So true. Yeah. You're building that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're planting those seeds and starting to find out what the real need is.
It's not a nice guerrilla marketing, stealth selling kind of tactic, isn't it?
Very low cost.
Yeah.
But again, it goes down to messaging too, right? Like we can't, all three of us could probably describe the same problem that we each have, but we would describe it differently. And we might even describe using different feeling words, how we want the situation to be resolved, what we want the end result to be. So with someone who was trying to sell the same thing to all three of us, if they had all of our wording and they understood our perspective, it allows them to write a lot of different sales copy that is going to speak to each of us in a way that draws us in. Because if you think about a long form landing page, you're generally saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
But you're saying it in different ways, right? And you're saying it because, we're each going to interpret it differently. And at some point, we're going to get to the part that really speaks to us.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Kirsten, as we draw this to a close, I'm just curious, over your long and successful career, what's one decision that changed the course of your career or your business?
Yeah, for me, it was moving from just mentoring people to taking on paid clients. Because again, when I did that, I didn't have any intention of leaving the real estate and the mortgage business. But as I started taking on those clients, it gave me that aha moment that I could build a business that gave me complete location freedom. And that was something, when you're real estate for so long, that is not a location independent business. So it was really, and timing was everything. So I feel like just mentoring was doing what I love doing and helping people, period. Turning that into a paid business and starting coaching was really a shift that I, again, stepped into something without real intention of leaving real estate behind.
Okay. We are at the end, but before we go, we like to play a little game with our guests to get to know you just a little bit more. So it's called the rapid fire questions, that rapid fire round. So we're just going to throw some questions at you, just 1 or 2 word answers. Don't think, just speak. Yep. Okay. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. What's your coffee order?
I'm a tea person. Sweet tea, please.
Oh, perfect.
Morning person or night owl?
A little bit of both. I would love to be a morning person completely, but probably a little bit more of a night owl.
Yeah, not Fridays. Fridays, though,
yeah.
Right?
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
What was your first job?
Babysitting.
What's your go-to stress relief?
Playing with my little dog.
Biggest risk you've ever taken in business?
Oh my gosh. Buying a building and starting a mortgage company at the same time.
Oof.
Wow.
AI, friend or foe?
Love it. Love.
Best friend.
Never, ever in my life have I wanted to be younger. I've never thought, I'd love to be 20 again. Until AI really hit the scene. Then I was like, oh my God, I would kill to be 20 right now. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yes.
All righty. One skill you wish every entrepreneur had?
One I wish I had was being an expert copywriter. Maybe discernment in what they need to do, what they don't need to do, what's a good opportunity, what's not a good opportunity, and balance. Discernment for balance.
And a habit that changed your life?
I would say time blocking and leaning into systems. Again, with my personality, I fight systems. We create amazing systems, and I'm the first one to fall off the wagon. So, time blocking and really leaning into systems is one of the habits that I feel like I am always working to improve.
All right. And the one thing you couldn't live without?
My little dog.
I kind of knew that was coming, right? Yeah.
But not the cat.
Yeah, the cat won't hear that.
Don't let the cat hear. All right. Well, Kirsten, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
Before we go, one question.
Oh.
All right. So if business really is a game, Kirsten, what's your definition of winning?
Freedom, time freedom and money freedom. And figuring out what does that look like for you? So where is your magic number where you feel like you have money freedom? And what does time freedom mean to you? How much time do you want to enjoy your life? Because again, days are long, years are short, time is moving by quickly.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Kirsten, can you tell us where people can find you and learn more about your business?
Sure, they can go to sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com, and that's sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much
Thanks,
for having
Kirsten.
me.
Oh,
this has been awesome.
this has
Thank
been
you.
so great. Thanks so much for joining us on The Business Game. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game.
If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected.
A big thank you to our major sponsor, TraffTrack, for powering today's episode.
And join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a
A
podcast that moves the needle.